A very good evening. You are watching Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Steven Machado.
And I am Hashini Patirana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Prime Minister Harini meets External Affairs Minister of India. Ruan, Thalatha and Ronald from UNP to hold discussions with SJB. Sirikota repairs were done by employees of the Engineering Corporation. Former director of the corporation arrested for 1.6 million rupee loss to the government, released on bail. Sri Lanka has made strong progress in recovery efforts, says Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable. Travel advisories do not include anything new. Existing advisories have not been changed, says the US ambassador to Sri Lanka.
In a top story tonight, Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, who is currently on a tour in India, met with External Affairs Minister of India, S. Jaishankar.
In a post on his X account, External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Jaishankar said that the discussion with the Prime Minister focused on India's continuous support to Sri Lanka and strengthening cooperation in education and capacity building. Dr. Harini Amarasuriya arrived in New Delhi, India early this morning, beginning her first official visit to India since assuming the office of Prime Minister. During the visit, the Prime Minister is scheduled to hold bilateral talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several other senior Indian political leaders with the aim of further strengthening cooperation between the two countries. The Prime Minister is also scheduled to participate in the 2025 NDTV World Summit, where she will deliver the keynote address. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister and alumni of the Hindu College at the University of Delhi also joined the visit to witness the site.
The United National Party announced today its decision to appoint a 3-member committee to engage in discussions with the Samagi Jana Balavegya. Now, in a statement, the party said it remains committed to uniting all political parties on a common platform to safeguard Sri Lanka's democratic multi-party system.
According to a statement issued by the United National Party today, Deputy Leader Ruan Vijayawardena, General Secretary and Attorney-at-Law Thalatha Athukorala and President's Counsel Ronald Pereira have been appointed to hold discussions with the Samagi Jana Balavegya. Earlier, on the 9th of October, the Samagi Jana Balavegya decided to collaborate with the United National Party and appointed a committee chaired by MP Kabir Hashim to advance this initiative. The committee also includes MPs Eran Vikramaratna, Mujibur Rahman and SM Marikar. It's the people who elect politicians. But once in power, they'll do anything to hold on to it. Some offer deals. Some take the deals. Let's look at history for a moment. Sajid broke away from the UNP and formed the SJB, saying there was no future left in the old party. Back then, he consistently declared that there was no journey with the corrupt. What happened in 2019? In 2019, Ranil and the UNP had an opportunity to back Sajid and help him become president. Instead of giving full UNP support, they orchestrated Sajid's run under a new alliance, the New Democratic Front, symbolized by the swan. And then, what did they do in the end? Just 2 weeks before the election, Ranil appeared in the media and declared this.
ලබන වසරේ සිට මේ ආර්ථිකයේ වෙනස්කම් සිදු කරන්නේ ඔබතුමාගේ අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරු යටතේමද? ඔව්. ඔබතුමාගේ නායකත්වය යටතේම.
අගමැති ඇටියට ජනාධිපති සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස.
This was while Ranil was already under heavy public criticism due to the 2015 bond scam just months after coming into power. And all this while Sajid was repeatedly campaigning for clean governance and accountability. On the same day Ranil made the statement, Sajid said this in Dambulla.
අපි මෙවර ජයග්‍රහණයෙන් පසුව The only appointment I've committed to post-victory is regarding national security, law and peace. I've decided to entrust this responsibility to war hero and decorated military leader Sarath Fonseca. I want all Sri Lankans to recognize that this appointment is made purely on merit. Any future appointments made under my signature will be guided by one principle: integrity. I will not under any circumstance appoint or empower anyone who has looted or ruined this country through corruption and fraud.
Sajit Premadasage asanin pan pahareng kisima patwimak nadai කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ කියන්න කැමතියි.
What was the result of the 2019 election? Sajit Premadasa 41.99%, Gotabaya Rajapaksa 52.25%. Now what's happening? Ranil has now appointed Thalatha Korala as a representative in political discussions. Thalatha notably entered parliament through the SJB. Yet, when it mattered most, she walked away from Sajit. And not silently. She did so after praising him, then followed with sharp criticism.
Sometimes I wonder if Sajit Premadasa is in a rush to become president. But history has already answered this question for us. In politics, patience is crucial. Our past leaders have proven this through their actions. We should learn from that. No matter how immature a leader appears, or how widely that immaturity is discussed among the public, there seems to be no concern. Speaker, regardless of whether the time or environment is right, the aim is just to become the country's leader at any cost. But what if that attempt fails? What's the scale of the damage? Can it be repaired? Is he even ready to bear that responsibility? He doesn't even pause to reflect whether he has the necessary leadership qualities. Instead, he creates an artificial wave, trying to grab power without any actual plan or strategy to sustain it.
So, what do the people think now? Is it possible to stop the feeling that we are just listening to the same old song remixed? In the end, it all comes down to just one thing: who's offering the deal and who's taking it. Former director of the State Engineering Corporation of Sri Lanka, Nilu Dilhara Vijayadasa, was arrested by the Bribery Commission over allegations of deploying the corporation's employees and resources for the renovation of the UNP headquarters, Sirikota, in 2019, in violation of proper legal and administrative procedures. Today, Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodragama ordered that the suspect be released on bail. He was granted bail on 2 personal sureties of 1 million rupees each.
During the court proceedings, Assistant Director of Legal Affairs of the Bribery Commission, Sulochana Hettiarachi, stated that the suspect, Nilu Dilhara Vijayadasa, was taken into custody over causing a financial loss exceeding 1.6 million rupees to the government by utilizing State Engineering Corporation employees and resources for the renovation of Sirikota, the UNP headquarters. Excerpt.
Your Honour, we began this investigation in 2021. We have recorded statements from employees of the State Engineering Corporation regarding this incident. The corporation does not have the capacity to undertake renovations even for private buildings. However, there is a proper legal and procedural mechanism in place for such undertakings. If construction or renovation work is carried out for a non-state or private entity, charges must be levied accordingly. Sirikota is a private property, but the suspect carried out the renovation work without charging any fees. No payments were requested or collected as per proper procedure. By deploying state employees and government-owned property for the renovation of Sirikota without following due process and without collecting any revenue, the suspect caused a financial loss to the state.
End of excerpt. Hettiarachi further stated that the maintenance work had been carried out based on an estimate submitted to the suspect by then UNP General Secretary Akila Viraj Karyavasam. Excerpt.
Through these actions, the suspect has committed an offence under Section 70 of the Bribery Act. Furthermore, we are also in the process of taking legal action against P. Jayatilaka, who served at the time as Director of the State Engineering Corporation in connection with this case.
End of excerpt. The Chief Magistrate also ordered an additional bail condition prohibiting foreign travel and ordered the suspect to surrender his passport to the court. The defence attorney appearing on behalf of the suspect requested bail, and the magistrate, taking into account that the investigation was at its final stages, granted the suspect bail under two personal sureties of 1 million rupees each. The case is scheduled to be called up again on the 9th of December.
එතන මේ තාක්ෂණික ගැටලුවක් තියලා තින්නේ. ඒකේ උසාවිය සලකලා බලලා සුදුසු තීරණයක් දෙයි.
The Court of Appeal today ordered that the petition filed by Attorney-at-Law Gunaratna Banninayaka seeking an order to prevent his arrest be called up again on the 10th of November.
The petition was taken up today before the Court of Appeal judge bench, comprising its president, Justice Rohantha Abesurya, and Justice Priyantha Fernando. President's counsel Faiz Mustafa informed the court that Attorney-at-Law Gunaratna Banninayaka had been released on bail following his appearance before the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court yesterday. He requested the court to fix a future date to inform the bench regarding the continuation of the petition. Deputy Solicitor General Janaka Bandara, who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General, and the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, Attorney-at-Law Rajiv Amarasuriya, also consented to the request. After considering the submissions, the bench scheduled the petition to be taken up again on the 10th of November. Meanwhile, Attorney-at-Law Gunaratna Banninayaka arrived at the Western Province South Crimes Division this morning to provide a statement in compliance with an order issued yesterday by the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court. He was required to record a statement before the officer in charge regarding the incident that occurred on the 10th of October, where he was accused of verbally abusing and threatening a police officer and obstructing police duties within the Mount Lavinia court premises. Police stated that Banninayaka provided a statement lasting approximately 2.5 hours concerning the incident.
ඔයාලා බොරු වීඩියෝ දාලා තියෙනවා. බොරු වීඩියෝ අපේ සමාජ මාධ්‍යයේ සමාජ මාධ්‍යයේ
Ishara Sewandi has revealed that she went into hiding in several locations for 3 months following the murder of Gane Mulle Sanjiva. She told investigators that she was in hiding in Matugama alone for over a month and a half during that period.
Ishara Sewandi has revealed that after the murder of Gane Mulla Sanjiva, she remained in hiding in several locations, including Mittenia, before fleeing to India by boat from Jaffna after a few days. She stated to investigators that she stayed in India for nearly 3 weeks and later fled to Kathmandu, Nepal. While in Nepal, she claimed to have met with Gampaha Baba, J.K. Bai and Jambugas Mulle Babi. Ishara also told investigators that she was brought to Nepal by Jaffna Suresh Takshi. Upon learning that 5 suspects, including Kehilbadra Padme, had been arrested in Indonesia during this time, the group had reportedly decided to split up. Meanwhile, during questioning, Ishara Sewandi revealed several details about the murder of Gane Mulla Sanjiva. She stated that the firearm used in the murder was handed over to the shooter purely based on her close connection with Kehilbadra Padme and that no payment was taken for providing the weapon. She further disclosed that an earlier attempt had been made to assassinate Gane Mulla Sanjiva at the Gampaha court premises, but it had failed. Ishara Sewandi, along with 5 other suspects, was arrested in Nepal and brought back to Sri Lanka last night in connection with the Gane Mulla Sanjiva murder. The arrest was made through a special joint operation conducted in coordination with the Nepalese security forces led by Assistant Superintendent of Police Rohan Olugala and Police Inspector Gihan Chandima of the Criminal Investigation Department. According to a senior CID officer, Ishara Sewandi, J.K. Bai, Suresh and Takshi were handed over to the Colombo Crimes Division for further investigations. Meanwhile, Gampaha Baba was handed over to the Paliagoda Crimes Division, while Jambugas Mulle Babi was placed under the custody of the Western Province South Crimes Division. Meanwhile, CID sources confirmed that Ishara Sewandi's identity was verified through facial recognition technology with 100% accuracy upon her return to the island.
SLPP National Organizer Namal Rajapaksa has called on the police to conduct investigations in an impartial manner. He made this request while speaking at the Somawati Rajamahaviharya in Polonnaruwa.
We humbly ask and say to the police department, there are honest officers among you. To those honest officers, we urge, do your duty truthfully and do not succumb to political pressures. Because if you don't, in the end, the police will be accused, just like how bail was granted to Nishanta Ulugetanna, of misconduct, breaking the law, and trying to throw people into high security detention. So, that's why we ask. Conduct investigations impartially. Do what is required. Look into the group behind all this. Also, 323 containers entered via the port. Nobody has revealed who brought them. The narcotics intelligence shows that people are given transfers by the police even when they are arrested. How can this be happening? Over time, there will always be some people here and there. Fruits arrive, vegetables come, cars appear, various types of things appear. Over time, the government must act in a coordinated way. Employ all three armed forces, the police and the intelligence services. Strengthen the intelligence branches, especially the naval intelligence and the naval technology. And protect coastal security while confronting these challenges. That is a responsibility of the government. We saw when the government of good governance was in power, they weakened every intelligence service. Even today, we see attempts to arrest heads of intelligence and put them in jail. That won't succeed. Deputy Minister of Public Security Sunil Vatagala stated in Colombo today that investigations will be launched into links between politicians, drug trafficking and underworld activities. This is something that the public has long expected. Some people said it couldn't be done. But despite those claims, the Criminal Investigation Department, the Crimes Division and the entire police department accepted the challenge and acted. Based on their intervention, those who were said to be untouchable have been brought back. Moving forward, the necessary legal action will be taken accordingly. A lot of crimes were uncovered based on the confessions made by these individuals. Future steps will be based on what they revealed during questioning by the CID. Their disclosures have already opened up leads that we are following. Well, if you haven't seen it, then it's not happening, right? That's what every citizen hopes for. We're planning a clear and structured course of action moving forward. I believe that starting from the 30th of this month, under the leadership of the President, a national initiative involving all Sri Lankans will be unveiled. This initiative will be officially launched at the Sugatadasa Stadium on the 30th of this month. I believe it's not just a responsibility for the police, the military or public servants, but a collective responsibility of every citizen. That is our goal.
දේශපාලන සම්බන්ධය කවද්ද එලි කරන්නේ?
නැති වෙනකම්ම අල්ලනවා.
ඇත්තටම දේශපාලන සම්බන්ධයක් තියෙද මේවට නැද්ද?
තියනවාද කියලා හොයනවා.
මම තුමාලා කිව්වේ මේවා හොයාගෙන යනවා අකුරු දාගෙන ඔලව්වල මුල් ළඟ තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
නම් පිටින් එලිදරව් වෙයි. බය වෙන්න එපා බලන්න. ඒවා විමර්ශන වලින් එලිදරව් වෙයි.
මේ නාකොටික් එකේ ප්‍රධානියා අධ්‍යක්ෂකවරයා මාරු කරලා දෙන්නේ.
මෙහෙමයි රාජකාරී අවශ්‍යතාවය මත යම් යම් නිලධාරි මාරුවීම් කරන්න වෙයි. ඉතින් ඒක අවශ්‍ය එදා ඉඳන් වෙච්ච දෙයක් නේ.
Newsfirst with the people.
The International Monetary Fund has reiterated the importance of sustained reform momentum and sound public investment management as Sri Lanka continues its path to economic recovery. Thomas Helbling, Deputy Director of the IMF's Asia Pacific Department, made this statement in response to a question raised by Newsfirst Zulfiq Farzan during an online media briefing.
How does the IMF assess the role of past fiscal mismanagement and large-scale non-productive infrastructure investments, often referred to as white elephant projects, in contributing to Sri Lanka's economic crisis, and what safeguards are being recommended to prevent such policy failures in the future? At the same time, Sri Lanka's electricity pricing regulator earlier this week said there will be no price adjustment for the last quarter of 2025. However, the IMF has repeatedly mentioned that it is instrumental to maintain cost recovery energy pricing. With this move, what consequences will Sri Lanka face in terms of achieving debt sustainability?
On the first part of your question, looking at the legacy, there were many factors that contributed to the crisis. I think, as I mentioned before, the key is to go forward and establish the institutional framework on the macroeconomic policy side, on the governance side. So public investment management is a key part of sound fiscal frameworks, as I mentioned before. The government has also subscribed to a government reform, which it supports under the program, and further there has been impressive progress. Further progress along the benchmark laid out in the program are important. On electricity pricing, let me just say, cost recovery is a continuous structural benchmark under the program. As mentioned before, restoring or maintaining, keeping the fiscal house in order also on the state-owned enterprise side is really crucial to go forward. It will be important to stay the course there. On whether prices are increases are needed or not, that depends on a number of factors. It depends on climate, it depends on international energy prices, and so on and so forth. So that is part of the ongoing program negotiations, and we cannot comment on statements. We just know under the program it's a critical benchmark, and so far the government has wholeheartedly supported the reform, and as Krishna said, we would just re-emphasize, stay the course.
Thank you.
The Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable has flagged elevated vulnerabilities in low-income countries, however noted that Sri Lanka has made strong progress in recovery efforts.
Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process is close to completion, according to the 5th COCHA's progress report of the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable. The report highlights that while debt levels in low-income countries and emerging markets have stabilized, they remain higher than pre-pandemic levels, with several nations, including Sri Lanka, still facing significant debt service challenges. Sri Lanka successfully completed the 4th review of its IMF-supported program in July 2025, marking a critical milestone in its recovery efforts. 6 agreements have already been signed with official bilateral creditors, while negotiations with remaining creditors, including commercial lenders, are ongoing in good faith. The GSDR report underscores that debt vulnerabilities remain elevated, particularly among LICs, where high interest costs and refinancing needs are crowding out essential development spending on education, health and infrastructure. Recent global policy shifts and reductions in foreign aid have compounded these challenges, placing greater emphasis on domestic reforms to boost growth, improve transparency and strengthen debtor-investor relations. The report also notes progress in ongoing restructurings, including Ethiopia, Ghana, Zambia under the Common Framework, and Sri Lanka and Suriname outside it. Technical work has focused on accelerating negotiations, improving information sharing among creditors, and clarifying the use of liability management operations and credit enhancements for countries with sustainable debt but liquidity constraints. Looking ahead, the GSDR plans to publish an updated restructuring playbook in April 2026, and advance initiatives such as a digital platform for real-time loan data reconciliation aimed at improving debt transparency globally.
Human Rights Watch has linked Sri Lanka's economic crisis to decades of flawed tax policy. In a new report, it urges progressive tax reforms to protect rights in Sri Lanka.
A new report by Human Rights Watch has revealed that decades of flawed tax policies in Sri Lanka have severely constrained government spending on essential services, undermining fundamental human rights, particularly the right to education. The report identifies chronically low tax revenues worsened by disastrous tax cuts in 2019 as a root cause of the country's economic crisis. The 2019 tax cuts were implemented phase-wide and included removal of certain taxes, reduction of tax rates and introduction of exemptions in a bid to propel long-term economic growth via spending. Unfortunately, the timing didn't quite sync too well. The pandemic struck 2 months after the tax cuts were effected, curtailing taxpayers' earnings, spending power and the revenue prospects that were envisaged from same. Sri Lanka's tax to GDP ratio has fallen to one of the lowest in the world, limiting resources for health, education and social security. HRW argues that the tax system's regressive structure, heavily reliant on indirect taxes such as VAT, disproportionately burdens low-income households while failing to adequately tax personal income, wealth and corporations. The widespread use of corporate tax incentives, weak enforcement and gaps in international tax frameworks have further eroded revenue. The report said that Sri Lanka's tax policies have impacted human rights by starving the treasury of revenue for essential social spending, with particular focus on impacts that affect children's right to education. The impact on education has been stark. Schools have been forced to rely on parental contributions for basic materials like exam papers, highlighting systemic underfunding. HRW calls on the government, led by President Anurukumar Dissanayake, elected in September 2024, to implement progressive tax reforms, increase revenues from personal income and wealth, and eliminate corporate tax incentives lacking clear policy justification. It also urges greater transparency and international cooperation to curb practices that allow multinational companies and wealthy individuals to avoid taxation. As a signatory to the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, Sri Lanka is obligated to mobilize maximum available resources to uphold rights, including education. HRW stresses that aligning tax policy with human rights imperatives is critical to preventing future crises and ensuring equitable development.
Confusion arose in Sri Lanka this week following reports that the United States had issued a new travel warning for the country. However, the US ambassador clarified that the level remains unchanged at level 2, exercise increased caution, and the update was part of a routine review rather than a response to any new threat.
The US Department of State updated its advisory for Sri Lanka on the 9th of October, reiterating existing cautions related to civil unrest, terrorism risks and landmines in isolated northern areas. These warnings have been in place for years and do not indicate an escalation in risk. The only notable addition was a standard global note on landmine awareness, referencing small demarcated zones in the far north that are far removed from tourist regions. The update issued on the 9th of October was clarified by US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, who emphasized that there has been no change in the advisory level. In a statement shared via social media, Ambassador Chung noted that the State Department regularly reviews and updates travel advisories to help US citizens make informed decisions about international travel. The advisory for Sri Lanka does not indicate any escalation in threat levels. The clarification comes amid speculation following the advisory update. Sri Lanka Tourism Alliance in a statement said that unfortunately some have misrepresented the advisory by highlighting cautionary elements that have been in the advisory for several years and have not been newly added. The only new addition is the mandatory reference to any landmine risk areas, which is referring to potential landmines in an area of 23 square kilometers of uncleared, demarcated jungle areas in northern Sri Lanka. There is a new requirement about landmine alerts that now applies to all US travel advisories worldwide, and this does not reflect any new or increased risk in Sri Lanka. Many other popular destinations including Mexico, the United Kingdom, Italy, France, Spain, the Dominican Republic, India, the Maldives, the Philippines, Indonesia, Morocco, Egypt and Turkey are also listed at level 2. Sri Lanka continues to be a safe and welcoming destination for travelers from around the world. Visitors can continue to enjoy Sri Lanka's rich culture, natural beauty and warm hospitality with confidence. The Kandy Hoteliers Association, convening a media briefing, also commented on the situation surrounding the travel advisory.
As you all know, Sri Lanka is the country that is the safest country in the world for tourism. In fact, last month we had some overseas agencies saying that to travel to Sri Lanka because it is so safe. and we depend so much on tourism, and the new good governance has done a lot of changes to the industry, but it will take time for it to get it fully cleared on the tourism side, because of all the 15 years has nothing much happened in the tourism tourist board. So things are happening, but we have to give time. The global promotion is taking time, because for 15 years we didn't do a global promotion. Also, as we all know, for us to get out of this economic situation, one of the main source of income is tourism, and I'm 100% sure it'll help the country to get over this economic situation which they are in now. But as we say, this kind of warnings will have an impact to the industry, not in Sri Lanka, but around the world. So we have to act fast and say that this has nothing to do, and these things never happen in Sri Lanka. As I mentioned earlier, we are the safest country in the world at the moment, and that is 100%. We can welcome everybody and ask anybody to come, and we guarantee that Sri Lanka is very safe at the moment, and we have nothing to worry.
The Institute of Policy Studies has released its flagship report, Sri Lanka State of the Economy 2025, highlighting key opportunities to transform the country's post-crisis recovery into sustainable growth.
According to the report, Sri Lanka has recorded a stronger than expected recovery, with GDP growth reaching 4.9% in the first half of 2025. While improved macroeconomical fundamentals are driving this recovery, experts say the long-term sustainability of growth will depend on boosting productivity and efficiency across the economy. The report identifies technology and digitalization as crucial engines for rapid and cost-effective economic gains. Despite challenges such as low national computer literacy, which stands at just 39%, and even lower rates in estate sectors, the report highlights significant opportunities. The IPS concludes that harnessing technology combined with thoughtful policy reform can underpin a robust post-crisis recovery, paving the way for sustainable growth as the country prepares to resume debt service obligations.
Sri Lanka's Deputy Minister of Economic Development, Anil Jayantha Fernando, pointed out that irresponsible borrowing and the misallocation of funds into productive sectors as key reasons for the country's economic setbacks. While some growth was visible, he noted it was unsustainable and failed to translate into long-term development.
The Sri Lanka Export Development Board, in collaboration with key stakeholders from both the public and the private sectors, successfully hosted the second edition of Voyage Sri Lanka 2025 Maritime Forum today in Colombo. The forum aimed to spotlight Sri Lanka's strategic role in the global maritime landscape and its capacity to evolve into a regional ocean-based economic hub. The event brought together industry leaders, policymakers and international partners to explore sustainable development opportunities within the blue economy.
I would recall the year 2010, immediately after the war. Actually, the country's position as of now, why we have not been able to bring the prosperity of development, is not because of our inherent problems, issues. To great extent, our people are capable enough to contribute for the economic development, but due to other reasons. Now, 2010 was regarded as a year of bringing or the initiating of bringing the prosperities. What happened? Of course, during some periods, just maybe borrowing. I would rather say that irresponsible borrowing. You may see some growth in economic development, but it was not sustainable because most of the borrowing had not gone into productive economic channels, so that was the reason. But we had an opportunity. What I just wanted to tell you that opportunities itself won't make the change. So we need actions. Among these actions, the government commitment, government support, government intervention, mediation is critical. The government mediation and intervention, again, clear, it is not the politicization. The politicization is also wrongly interpreted. Politicization is intervening, mediating, engaging, influencing to different matters to maximize the private interest. Therefore, we are not going to promote politicization. But political engagement, political interference is pretty much there to facilitate investment. So otherwise, there would be a wrong perception, interpretation. Our government is there to just do certain things in rules and regulation, just to be the monitor, look at what is going on in the economy. No. Our mandate is to look at everything very carefully and support you to bring the economy in the right direction. So therefore, don't take this thing as a politicization.
We believe that there is much that needs to be done on the party of the Ministry of Industries to promote the boat construction industry, develop boat launching pads and the provision infrastructure for the tourism sector. What is most important is to take policy decisions that would make it easy for exporters. We as the ministry are ready to take all necessary policy decisions within the cabinet of ministers to conquer this sector internationally. We will only be able to do this with the strong private sector in the country. We also believe that it is only with a public-private partnership that we can elevate our blue economy internationally.
The Asian Development Bank has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Sri Lanka's journey toward inclusive and resilient economic growth, with a strong emphasis on sustaining reforms, momentum and unlocking new sectors of opportunity. Speaking at a high-level forum in Colombo, Takafumi Kadono, ADB Country Director for Sri Lanka, noted that while the country's economic recovery is progressing, growth must accelerate beyond the current forecast of 4.8% to 5%.
Looking ahead, the ADB forecasts growth to moderate but remain strong as the economy recovers further. There needs to be a transformation, and then there needs to be faster growth, more than just 4.8%, 5%. So, of course, the reform momentum needs to sustain. The government needs to strengthen fiscal and external buffers and foster private sector-led development. So at the Asian Development Bank, we remain committed to supporting Sri Lanka's path towards inclusive and resilient growth, ensuring that the gains of recovery are sustained and shared across all segments of the society. And as Sri Lanka consolidates its recovery and looks beyond traditional growth drivers, the focus increasingly turns towards sectors with untapped or under-tapped potential and long-term sustainability that brings about a transformation.
Today marks World Food Day, and the Sri Lanka Institute of National Tourist Guide Lecturers celebrated the occasion with a special training session held in Colombo.
The World Food Day is celebrated globally on the 16th of October each year. To mark the occasion, the Sri Lanka Institute of National Tourist Guide Lecturers organized a special training session conducted by leading food experts. The program aimed to enhance the culinary knowledge and practical skills of tourist guide lecturers, empowering them to offer visitors deeper insights into Sri Lanka's diverse food culture and traditions. By strengthening their understanding of local cuisine, the initiative also seeks to promote Sri Lanka's culinary heritage as a key element of its tourism experience.
The official press conference of the Sri Lanka Dance Festival 2025 was held in Colombo today.
Sri Lanka is set to make history with the launch of the Sri Lanka Dance Festival 2025, Paraiso Sri Lanka, the country's first ever internationally curated dance festival, happening from the 31st of October to the 2nd of November 2025. Organized in collaboration with Sri Lanka Tourism, this landmark event aims to position Sri Lanka as Asia's next hub for dance tourism, bringing together over 75 international artists, DJs, influencers and more than 500 dancers from over 15 countries.
In just 2 weeks, Sri Lanka will come alive with rhythm, color and energy as we host this international celebration for the very first time. The Sri Lanka Dance Festival brings together vibrant worlds of over 10 dance styles, unite people through music, movement and emotion. As we look ahead, we invite all of you to join us, not as just spectators, but as part of the experience.
Midushan Rhodes, chief organizer of the Sri Lanka Dance Festival, addressing the attendees, highlighted the importance of organizing such a dance festival of international caliber in Sri Lanka.
When you look at Sri Lanka, which is a country that's been listed across multitudes of publications saying one of the best countries to travel, one of the best islands to travel, safe for solo travelers, female travelers, but what are we doing with it? How are we capitalizing that, right? So that's when, as artists of this country, we sat down, we discussed how can we contribute to a change, and if it has to happen, it has to start from us. And that's why it was important to bring on board some of the most experienced people in the country in these fields. How can we contribute? How each of us can contribute is by playing that small role. For example, the media partners are doing everything in order to make sure that every person in this country is able to understand that something like this is happening. This could be a point for someone who has never danced to go and experience for the first time.
MTV MBC Media Network is the official media partner of the Sri Lanka Dance Festival 2025.
When Madhushan came to us at the beginning, like as a concept, I never thought that he was this serious. But after first two discussions, we felt how serious he was. And he came to the right place. If there's anything, just let us know. There's nothing that's impossible in our calendar. Good luck, and we would like to be partners with the coming events as well.
The special dance demo was performed by Carlos and Carla, world champions of bachata and salsa dance styles, who have arrived in Sri Lanka all the way from Peru for the festival. Of global dance, culture and connection, Sri Lanka Dance Festival will feature a vibrant mix of over 12 different dance styles with 3 days of workshops, showcases, social dancing and live concerts, followed by a specially curated 3-day travel adventure exploring Sri Lanka's beaches, heritage sites, safaris and surf destinations.
Madagascar's new military ruler will be sworn in as the country's president as the African Union suspended the island nation after a coup that ousted President Andry Rajoelina. The Indian Ocean nation has been plunged into its worst political upheaval in years after the elite Capsat army unit assumed power on Tuesday, moments after Parliament voted to impeach Rajoelina, who appeared to have fled the country as street protests escalated. It becomes the latest former French colony to fall under military control since 2020, after coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Gabon and Guinea. Capsat commander Colonel Michael Randrianirina, confirmed as president by the top court, said the transition to civilian leadership would take under 2 years and include the restructuring of major institutions. The country's military rulers said in a statement, quote, Randrianirina will be sworn in as president of the refoundation of the Republic of Madagascar during a solemn hearing of the High Constitutional Court, end quote, on the 17th of October. Randrianirina has long been a vocal critic of Rajoelina's administration and was reportedly imprisoned for several months in 2023 for plotting a coup. The swift takeover has drawn international concern. The African Union said it was suspending Madagascar with immediate effect, while the UN said it was deeply concerned by the unconstitutional change of power. The youth-led Gen Z movement that initiated the protests on the 25th of September over lack of water and energy, before they later swelled into broader anger at the political elite, have welcomed the intervention of Randrianirina.
Pakistan and Afghanistan have implemented a 48-hour ceasefire following the deadliest border clashes in years that killed dozens of people and led to evacuations on both sides.
The 48-hour truce began on Wednesday at 6 p.m. in Islamabad time, with each country claiming the other requested the pause in hostilities. Pakistan confirmed the ceasefire duration, stating, quote, during this period, both sides will sincerely strive to find a positive solution to this complex but resolvable issue through constructive dialogue, end quote. In Kabul, the Taliban government directed its forces to respect the truce unless it is violated by Pakistan. This temporary cessation follows a week of escalating violence. The Taliban had initiated offensives along the southern Pakistani border, prompting Islamabad to threaten decisive retaliation. Pakistan has consistently accused Afghanistan of sheltering Pakistani Taliban fighters, claims that Kabul rejects. As tensions peaked, two explosions in Kabul on Wednesday evening sent black smoke rising above the city. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid attributed these to an oil tanker and generator explosion without linking them to the border conflict. Early on Wednesday, Pakistan's military reported that Afghan Taliban fighters assaulted two major border posts in the southwest and northwest. It claimed that both attacks were successfully repelled, with approximately 20 Taliban fighters killed near Spin Boldak in Afghanistan's Kandahar province. In a dominant display at the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup 2025 in Visakhapatnam, India, the Australian women's team cruised to a 10-wicket victory over Bangladesh. Now chasing a target of 199 runs, the Australian team reached their target in just 24.5 overs with 151 balls to spare.
Winning the toss, the Bangladesh team opted to bat first. Bangladesh's innings began with Rupia Haider and Fargana Haq opening the batting. The first wicket partnership between them added 32 runs. Fargana Haq was dismissed for 8 runs. Rupia Haider scored 44 runs. Shamin Akhtar was dismissed for 19 runs. Captain Nigar Sultana contributed 12 runs. Bangladesh lost their top 5 wickets for 127 runs. Sobana Mostari recorded her second one-day international half-century in this match. At the end of their allotted 50 overs, Bangladesh were all out for 198 runs, having lost 9 wickets. Australian openers Alyssa Healy and Phoebe Litchfield chased down the target set by Bangladesh with ease in just 24.5 overs. Alyssa Healy scored her 7th ODI century and was 113 not out, while Phoebe Litchfield was not out on 84 runs. All matches of the tournament can be watched live on TV1 and online via www.sirasatv.lk, as the MTV NBC Media Network holds the official local broadcasting rights of the tournament.
Former cricketer Jayananda Varnavira, known for his distinctive style and vibrant presence on the cricket field, passed away this morning. He was 64 years old.
Jayananda Varnavira, who made a significant contribution to Sri Lankan cricket during some of its most challenging times, demonstrated unwavering dedication throughout his involvement in the sport. He represented Sri Lanka in 10 test matches and 6 one-day internationals. Although he retired from playing, Varnavira returned to the game by taking on the critical role of chief curator at Sri Lanka cricket. He left an indelible mark on the Galle International Cricket Stadium, a ground that stands as a symbol of pride for the southern capital of Sri Lanka. Varnavira's service is recognized even at the international level. His leadership during rain-affected matches, particularly in the swift and efficient covering of the playing field, earned widespread praise. The rapid and disciplined work of the ground staff under his direction remains commendable to this very day.
There is one spot you must not miss when visiting the scenic Arugambe beach. That is the Crocodile Rock. Today on beautiful Sri Lanka, we will be taking you there.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Stevin Machado.
And I am Hashini Patirana. Thank you for watching and good night.